Hello and welcome to another dev diary for Imperator Rome. This time it is the change notes, the big list of things that has changed in the Livy update and Punic Wars DLC. And as I've done previously with Cicero and Pompey, instead of going through every single thing in this amazingly long list, I've instead put it open in Notepad++ and highlighted the relevant areas that haven't really been talked about before. I have gone over what I consider 5 largest changes in a video that I put out yesterday that's doing really well. So if you want to see the huge changes and have me, talk a little bit about them, then go and check that out as well. I'll put a link to that in the description below. Just before I go into this though, Snow Crystal and his hatred of Carthaginian white is just funny to me, and there's yet again a bit of a dig about it. So with that out of the way, let's have a look at Notepad++, and we'll have a look at the changelog, and probably I should have scrolled to the top. Just inserting this one here because I missed it before. This is a really interesting one. Subject interactions. Subjects can now be asked to abandon an ungrateful overlord and can themselves seek out a new overlord if they're displeased with their current one. That's really interesting. Giving the options for subjects to be released without war? Oh, I'm going to be testing the hell out of that. That looks really interesting. Tasty, tasty. Well, yeah, I'm back to the other stuff. So, first thing, destroying a building now gives you 25% of its build cost restored, which is fantastic, especially considering that's 25 gold apiece for all of the tribal settlement buildings that you inevitably have anytime you annex any tribal land, because tribal settlements, they're not very good, and I generally want to swap them out for barracks or farms or mines or whatever. So yeah, that's fantastic, getting a little bit of money back from that. As well, it's not said here, it's probably said down below, you also get 25% of the manpower back when you disband troops. So, yeah, that's also pretty awesome. Road building is now available from Civic Tech 4 instead of 6. Fantastic. Pretenders now receive a scaling loyalty penalty based on the power base of their supporters, which makes pretenders a little bit more dangerous and can result in more civil wars potentially, if you don't keep your pretenders in line. Tweak the starting army and navy sizes. They'll now be a little bit smaller than they were in previous versions, and maintenance for loyal troops has been increased slightly. So these are the ones that are loyal to the general. Previous patch in Cicero, that meant there was quite a large discount on the maintenance that you had to pay. That's now changed a bit, and you'll be paying just a little bit more. There's still a discount, but it's not as big. Maximum manpower is now 20 years of manpower gain rather than 25, so there'll be less manpower, but that's fine because you don't use as much manpower, with attrition being a lot more manageable and a lot more controllable with supply chains. Base manpower as well, also reduced by 50%. That is the amount of manpower that every country gets regardless of the amount of freemen they have. Enslavement efficiency reduced across the board by 25 to 50%. This means you're going to be taking fewer slaves at war, which I'm totally fine with. Raise and pillage. This one's a big one for migratory tribes. Raise and pillaging can now be used regardless of whether you're at war with a province owner. It will lead to stacking opinion debuff every time the action is performed. If the opinion goes below negative 180, a war will be declared, treating the pillaging country as the attacker. Pillaging and raising is how migratory tribes get their technology. And generally you have to go to war with the enemy and then start raising and pillaging their land. It gives you a lot of aggressive expansion, so you need to be wary of that. And generally it's kind of difficult to use, and it didn't really make sense. There's a lot of pillaging and raiding across borders that didn't result in wars. But now, if you're a migratory tribe, you can now use it while not at war, so that's pretty cool. If you do it too much, then the country that you are raising will consider it an act of war, and there will be a war, so that's great. Claim fabrication speed has been doubled, so you're going to be getting claims just a bit faster. Truce length has been decreased by 40%, roughly. So you're going to have, truces lasting just that little bit less time, so you can go to war again. Fantastic. Tyranny now reduces war score costs in peace treaties. This is awesome, right? Because tyranny, there is benefits already to having tyranny. Your assimilation rate goes up quite a lot with high tyranny, but it's a double-edged sword, because obviously your population will be less happy. But now, just giving more benefits to tyranny, it's still probably not worth it to go with a high tyranny run, but having some benefits there is, I think, a really good thing. Nothing should be like objectively bad in every single way. Even war exhaustion has benefits. You gain your military experience faster with it, for example. So I like it. No technology inventions are affecting omen duration anymore. This is a holdover from when omens cost mana, and so you wanted to increase the duration so that you didn't have to spend mana quite as often. So that's no longer needed, and it's gone. Added a heritage for Heraclea Pontica. Corinthian heritages, Pontus and Iberia all get heritages. Thrace has got his heritage changed. It's less war score cost reduction instead of, higher. There's also a heritage for the religious enclave that you get if you're going through like the Pearl of Macedonia chain. I'm sure there's Pearl of other places as well. So yeah, religious enclaves, they're going to be a theocratic heritage. And then there's an Epicratia heritage for Carthaginian created country in Sicily. I'm quickly going to see if I can have a look at that, see if in the game that I've got open, these countries do exist, because I would like to look at them. So it's Pontus, Iberia, Heraclea Pontica. I unfortunately cannot check the other two because I don't have them open. So Pontus does exist. Their heritage is now wrong culture happiness plus 5%, popularity gain plus 0.05, and civic provincial investment cost is plus 15%. That's really good. That is a fantastic heritage. I'm entirely happy with this. That's something I'd be totally happy with. Hell yeah, that's awesome. Heraclea Pontica has the Heraclean heritage. Citizen happiness is up, loyalty gain chance is up, and also found city cost modifier at negative 25%. Another really, really good heritage. And then Iberia, unfortunately, don't exist in the game that I've got open. I can, however, just open a new game real quick because I would like to see it. I have this game open for a reason. There's a patch note later on that I want to show this game off in. So new game. Let's go and have a quick scan over at Iberia. I want to check their heritage out. Also, if you're hearing the music in the background, this is the 3 new tracks that come with the Punic Wars DLC. So I hope you're enjoying them. I personally think they're pretty good. So the Iberian heritage, we've got state religion happiness plus 5%, diplomatic relations plus 1, and monthly governor loyalty negative 0.02. Not as good as the Pontian and Heraclean heritages. These guys have really, really nice heritages. Unfortunately, I'd have to play the game as Carthage or as Macedon and do something differently than what I've got open in the game right now to see these the other heritages that are in the game. So, unfortunately, not going to be able to do that for you. Let me just quickly open the game that I had open and go back over here. So, mercenaries maintenance is now increased from 125% back up to 200%. This was reduced in the Cicero patch, and now it's gone back up. Just balancing the use of them. I'm totally fine with this. This is going to see a lot less mercenaries on the map when you're fighting against the AI, so 100% in favor of this. That's fantastic change. Larger mercenary units also get supply trains, of course. They are definitely needed. Local bonus for leather is now slave output. I like it, that slave output. I've been using it quite a lot. It's 10%, so that can be quite a lot. The surplus in the capital bonus, I think, is unchanged. This is just the standard bonus. And then base metals is now freeman output. I'm fairly sure this used to be something to do with light infantry, if I remember rightly. Research points from academies being increased, making them a more valuable building. Foundries no longer impact unit build speed, but they instead increase output of the territory by 1%. So that can stack. So more foundries is pretty good. I mean, you build 10 foundries, then you've got 10% extra output, and by the time you've got 10 foundries, you've got a lot of population there. So that's a lot of output. That's your manpower, that's your research, that's not food, but money, it's your commerce. It's pretty damn good. For the economy, for the AI is better at budgeting for all resources. Just balancing them, making them just better in general is good. The AI is a bit more mindful about keeping at least one route open for expansion when allying neighbors. The AI knows that they can enforce demands, having fully captured the war goal, and will do so if the situation isn't improving. It's making them, better at warfare, better at balancing their economy, better at everything. It's good. It's good. The AI will now spread out the forces a bit more while at peace, rather than leaving all packed in one area, enabling quicker responses to internal and external threats. They'll try to assault if its troops are unavoidably attritioning away due to lack of food, and if there is nothing else for it to do. I've seen this myself. I'm playing with the Livy update. The AI also abandon sieges when they have run out of food, but if they are very close to getting the siege, say it's at like 36%, I have seen them stick with it for another couple of months, or I've seen them assault as well. So the AI are working with the food system pretty well. I've not seen any big exploits that you can really make them do. The AI should consider if they really have food prior to besieging a non-war goal fort. I don't know what imperfect heuristic means, but yeah, making them consider if they have food prior to starting sieges is good. Though non-war goal forts is a bit weird. I mean, I would hope that the AI would consider if they have enough food prior to besieging any forts, because why waste your manpower? Even if it is a war goal fort, you should still be a little bit more wary than just going in with no food. You're just going to lose tons and tons of troops to attrition if you don't consider it. I've not seen it, like I said, I've not seen it be stupid when it comes to food and besieging, but yeah, the wording there is a little bit worrying. Fix an issue that made the AI forget their army at sea for thousands of years. The initial departure port has become inaccessible. I think we've all seen this one. Carthage and Phrygia bringing massive amounts of troops up on their boats, but suddenly wherever they're going is now no longer possible to go for, and they just sit in the water, and they stay there, and they all attrition away to nothing. But that's no longer going to happen, so that's really, really good. The AI units are less likely to chase much smaller forces than them. This was an exploit that you could do when the AI was besieging a fort. You would create one stack of light infantry right next to them. They would abandon their siege and try and kill the one stack instead. But that's no longer going to happen, so that's pretty cool. The AI will consider building forts and provinces with ports, making slave raiding a lot more difficult. AI absolutely won't pick up ship ideas without ports now. Yeah, that is the, I think, 25% ship building cost reduction idea that you often saw landlocked countries taking. No longer going to happen. Good. The AI won't disband forts is a revolter against the player, so your forts won't get deleted by troll AI. I would like to see something else here. AI won't delete forts if they become, if somebody drops out of multiplayer and the AI has to take over. I would like to see the AI not delete forts then as well, but this is a start. On the map, desecrating a holy site now puts a city on fire, and cities that are looted will now sometimes visibly burn on the map. And that's what I wanted to bring this up for, because I've got a city, a capital city in fact, that is just about to be sieged. So I'm going to continue that siege and see if we can see the fires raging. And if the fire don't rage, it is the capital of the Nesiotic League, so I can show you the fire there as well. It's pretty cool. I love it. If you're trailblazing across Phrygia, for example, then you can often see just trails of fire going across, and it's really, really cool. Right, Siege of Chaos is one. It didn't burn though. This is the one I want to see. Actually, this is my Iron Man game, so that's unfortunate that I've let him cross. Oops. Let me just quickly get this guy to go and relieve that siege if possible. But this is what I want to see. Come on, 42%. I want to see this burn. I can't move against him. Right. Burn. Burn, please. This is taking annoyingly long. We've got a breach. Fuck it, we're just going to assault. We're now in control. Let's assault. Delos has been taken, and the city burns. And the smoke does rise, and I love it. It looks fantastic. I'm very much a fan of this. Let's move out of the province so we can see it properly. The city burns. I love it. Anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to show with that. That's why I had the save open, but yeah, there we go. Also, desecrating the holy site will now put the city on fire as well. Beautiful. For decisions, lowered party support requirement to declare dictatorship to 70. I think it was from 80. This just makes becoming a dictatorship just that little bit easier because it was a little bit too high, let's be fair. Forming Persia now requires being of a Persian culture. So initially when I was reading this, I saw that and was like, oh, damn, Heraclea Pontica is not Persian. However, we have here an event for Heraclea Pontica where they can choose to go Persian or Greek in the early game. That's fun. That's good. That's awesome. Heraclea Pontica are the country with the Achaemenid dynasty, the final surviving, members of the Achaemenid dynasty. So having the option to go Persian with them, fantastic. I might even do a Heraclea Pontica to Persia campaign now. I didn't really want to do it before when they were Greek. Change the Diadochi starting diplomacy to use alliances. I mentioned that in my alliance change part of the 5 major changes video. What I didn't know is that these alliances break when the Epigoni event fires. The Epigoni event is when the Diadochi die. The Epigoni are their sons, their successors. So, successor to the successors. And then we've got some bug fixes as well. Various fixes to out of syncs, especially related to hot joining. Beautiful. This makes me very happy. The annexation event should now work properly in multiplayer. Love it. Slave revolts that end in unknown territory will now still count as ended in the origin country. I think that this is a fix to the problem where you would have the decision open for pretty much the rest of the game, saying that you can negotiate with slaves, even though there was no slaves in your country. So I'm fairly sure that's what that is all about. Arsaces is now creating the Arsacid dynasty when it is spawned. This is the Parthia guy, the guy who formed, the second coming of Parthia. Slaves should no longer be added above the maximum population capacity of a territory. So you're no longer going to have, especially when you add into effect this one, it'll be less likely to end up in the country capital. You're no longer going to have all the slaves that you're taking in a war go to the country's capital and have it just 50 pops over the limit. You're going to be spreading those slaves out a little bit more, and that's really, really good. River presence in provinces is now properly calculated, so you'll be able to see if there's going to be a river crossing penalty when you're fighting a lot more easily. Sometimes you could be crossing a river and you didn't know it. Sometimes it looked like you were crossing a river and you didn't know it. And you weren't. Children of successor women will now inherit their families. This was a big thing with the Ptolemies. Basically, the Ptolemaic dynasty, the Lagids, would die out because they would have a woman as the ruler, and she would marry somebody that was not a Lagid, and then the children would take on, they'd be the primary heir, but they would have the name of their father instead of their ruler mother, which is a bit strange. So yeah, they'll now inherit their families. Good. Split army now doesn't care for unit loyalty. It only tries to create even stacks. Beautiful. Since we're able to, split off units that are loyal, it made no sense that when you're, splitting an army in half, it would only take not half, basically, because a bunch of people were loyal. And finally, we've got Miscellaneous. The AI will now better respect subject overlord in finding war targets. Yeah, there's plenty of times when you had the likes of, tribal vassals. The AI would look at the tribal vassal and be like, oh, that's an easy target. He's got no allies. Let's declare war. All of a sudden, he's at war with the player who completely crushes him. That's no longer going to be so exploitable. Fixed ship selection circle, sometimes remaining on the map after the ship had been moved to a port. Yeah, the annoying circle is gone. Finally. Fix the Salamis port location. Let's have a look at that. Previously, Salamis port was in the wrong sea zone. Actually, the sea zone's actually changed as well. I think it used to come off here and go like that. And the Salamis port, it looked like the port was down here, but instead the ships would have to be in this tile. Or maybe the other way around, I can't really remember. But now it's finally okay. Salamis seaport is, it's good. It's in the right place, so that's a fantastic change. And finally, increased Stonehenge size from 1.0 to 1.7. So Stonehenge is just that little bit bigger, and oh, it looks beautiful. Doesn't it look beautiful? Ah, fantastic. Anyway, those are the changes coming in the 1.3 patch and the Punic Wars DLC, which is free. Those are the changes, and yeah, I hope you found this video useful. You now know what to expect with 1.3 when you get to play it tomorrow, and it's probably going to be around about 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock Swedish time. That's generally when things come out from Paradox. So be expecting it then. I've been really enjoying it. I hope you do too. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.